Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Joffrey Noodle Legs here today with little Sullivan sat there behind me. Here he is. Hello Sullivan. Hello everybody. Here he comes. Just got to come and say hello, innit? Oh, here he comes. Here he is. Here's the baby. Hello everybody. So, got a new music video for you today. This one is not a sort of top 10 countdown sort of video. What it is, it's a video I believe to be really underrated albums. Hello mate. Got to have my little wash, so I'm good to go. Thank you baby. So these are sort of underrated albums I think that don't get a lot of sort of like love, if you like, and I think they're albums you should check out and listen to. There is quite a number of them here. That's why I couldn't do a top 10, because there's quite a few. Some of the albums I think you guys should check out. You might know some of them anyway. Some you might not have never heard of. I'm hoping that, because I'd like to introduce you to stuff that you maybe not know. So we're going to start anyway. This one is by John Cougar Mellencamp, and this is a fantastic album called The Lonesome Jubilee. I absolutely love this album. I remember it when it came out, and I just absolutely fell in love with this album. It's an Americana sound, so it's like an American sort of country sort of rock. Really, really great album, and it's just fantastic. And I love his vocal style on it. I love the songs. I like the it's just a great listen. It's just an easy listening sort of American rock, country rock album to listen to. So that's The Lonesome Jubilee by John Cougar Mellencamp. Next up is a band that have been around for a long time, and it influenced loads of bands, and this is Sparks. I absolutely love Sparks. This album here is probably one of my favourites. It's one of their really early ones. I'm trying to see what songs it's got any sort of like big known tracks on it that you might know on it. Can't really read the writing, but yeah, because it's so small. But yeah, I love Sparks, and this album here, one of their early albums, is fantastic. It's just really good to listen to. They've influenced so many bands, a lot of the electronic sort of bands as well. Like if you think about bands like Soft Cell and things like that, which were a dual, you know, Pet Shop Boys and stuff, and they were kind of sort of similar in a way, in the sense that they were two of them, but they made some amazing songs. Really cool. I'm not sure if this Talent Big Enough for the Both of Us is on this. It might well be, I can't remember, but that's a great album. Next album is a fantastic album by Elliott Smith. Now, poor Elliott is no longer with us, sadly. He took his own life. It's a tragic story, because I mean he in the sort of 90s, in the early 2000s, he released about 4 or 5 albums a year, and they were all sort of fantastic. Sort of, some were semi-acoustic, some were just out rock, and some were just you know, just amazing. And he suffered with quite a serious sort of drink and drug problem, and he took his own life. I think they found him in his house. He sort of stabbed himself multiple times in the chest. So it was a real tragic end to Elliott Smith. But his albums are fantastic. He didn't really give his titles to many of his albums. This one does. I think it's Kill Rock Shoes is this album. But a lot of his albums were just like exclamation marks and stuff like that. And he's done some really great albums. This one I particularly like. Just fantastic. It's just a great listen. All of his albums, if you can pick any of them up, I'm not sure if they're going to be cheap or easy to pick up anymore. So, like I said, because of the tragic story, I think a lot of his albums are quite rare to pick up. Great singer though, fantastic. Not so sad now. This singer is still with us. This next one, this is Tom Waits and Heart Attack and Vine. What a fantastic little album this is. It's a little bit of like, I think, of like a compilation of songs that didn't go on albums, and he sort of like put them on this sort of album, Heart Attack and Vine. He's done some amazing albums. His music, it's difficult to explain because he's sort of ventured into so many sort of genres. It's a lot of his music is quite jazzy, with a sort of you know, he's got like a cool voice over it where he almost talks the song rather than sings it. And then when he does sing, his voice is like he's done nothing but drink bottles of whiskey, and he sounds just like that. Like he has never eaten any food in his life. All he's done is drunk whiskey, and his voice just sounds like that. It's really gravelly, but his songs are fantastic. Great songwriter, and he's done some acting as well. He starred in one of my favourite horror films, Dracula. He played Renfield in The Prison Cell. So yeah, Tom Waits is fantastic, and this is a great little album, Heart Attack and Vine. If you get a chance to pick it up, it's got a few songs in there you might know. I mean, Jersey Girl was covered by Bruce Springsteen, so he's done quite a few songs that are covered by quite a few artists. Even Rod Stewart's covered a few of his songs. So that's Tom Waits. Next one is a sort of art. I can't describe it. Gothic art, classical, religious, church sort of music, and it's Dead Can Dance and the Serpent's Egg. This is a fantastic album that came out about 1989. A really good album. It's a very atmospheric album. The singer is Liz Gerard, and her vocal style is phenomenal. Really, really cool. And Dead Can Dance released so many really epic albums. We're all beautifully sounding. They're all like dreamscape classical music, and it's just amazing. It's a real chill out album. But this one in particular, the other singer, Brendan Perry, he's got a little bit of a Frank Sinatra vibe to his voice, which I really like. And the combination of them both together is just fantastic. And that is a classic album, Serpent's Egg. If you ever get a chance to hear that by Dead Can Dance, amazing. And this is on the 4AD label. This is like the remastered version, and they've released it like the LP. So it's really, really cool. Great album. Check that out. Going to a little bit of 80s rockabilly now with Restless, and this is called Why Don't You Just Rock. This is a really cool upbeat sort of rockabilly album. Not obviously, rockabilly and psychobilly came quite big in the sort of early 80s with bands like Restless, the Guana Bats, the Stray Cats. All those sort of bands were like sort of popular at the time, and this is a really good album. It's got a real sort of old school 50s style to it, but modern, with the sort of like slap bass and everything. Really, really, really good album. I love Restless, a really good rockabilly band. I think they're still going today. They tend to play mostly sort of like rockabilly and psychobilly sort of all-dayers. But I think they're still about. So if you get a chance to see them, catch them. And that's Why Don't You Just Rock by Restless. Next up is a different one. In the early 2000s, this guy come out of nowhere with his band. And he is now a she. And he's fantastic. And I'm sorry if I keep calling him he. I know he's a she now, but you know, it's just difficult for me to sort of like, because when I got into his music, he was a he. Anyway, this is Anthony and the Johnsons, and this album is I Am As a Bird Now, and this was his debut album. Really, really cool album, and her voice is fantastic. It's just, I can't describe it. It's one of those artists, when you hear it, you remember it, and you remember where you were when you first heard it, and it's like, you know, and you just think that's blown me away. I've never heard anyone like that in my life, and she is that person. When you hear her sing for the first time, you'll never forget her voice, and it's incredible. Anthony and the Johnsons, check that out. Really good album. Next up is a a 1980s band that me and my friend used to go and see quite a lot back in the 80s, that I still love today. They're still going, not producing as much as they did then, but back in the day we used to go see them play a lot. They always used to play around sort of like dingy little places in London, like Finsbury Park or New Cross and that, and we always used to go and see them. And this is the Band of Holy Joy, and this album is Magic Man, what's this one called? Manic Magic Majestic. I knew I'd get those M's the wrong way round. Yeah, and these are fantastic. Johnny Brown, the singer, is a great songwriter and underrated. I believe he's one of Britain's songwriting unsung heroes. His songs are so clever and they're so good. This has got like a little bit of a sort of pogsy folk sort of sound to it, with a little bit of Mark Almond in there as well. Mark Almond done some albums when he left Soft Cell that had sort of violins, almost like overture sort of sound to it, and this is similar. It's got that sort of thing, and some of them have got like a sort of more pogsy sort of bluesy sound to it with accordions and stuff like that. But the lyrics are fantastic. There's some really great ballads in there. There's some good up-tempo songs. This one is just a brilliant album. Again, I'm not sure if you can pick this up anymore. I really don't know. So I've had this when it came out in the 80s, and yeah, I've not seen it about anywhere. You know, I've always looked online for like remasters of it, you know, just to get up to date. They did release a box set about a year or so ago with earlier albums than this, and they were really good. I picked that up because they were remastered, but this one here, I just can't seem to pick it up. I think the album they did afterwards, Positively Spooked, is also not available anymore, and they're probably their best two albums. But yeah, that's a fantastic album. Manic Magic Majestic, the Band of Holy Joy. We're off to Iceland next. Not the shop, the country, just above Scotland. And we've got Sakuras, and this is their album Tark, which means thank you in Icelandic. This was about their third album or fourth album. It's probably their most commercially successful that made them sort of successful. I saw them on tour on this album. They were amazing. They've released some amazing albums since, but what an amazing band! They're a strange ensemble of musicians, because they've got like the most gentle and beautiful music you'll ever hear, and then right in the middle of it they'll have like a brass band coming playing through it, and then they have like this really orchestrated bit and really ambient sort of music, and his voice sort of like is very ambient too. He's a very powerful but gentle sort of voice, and it's just beautiful really, and this is a really beautiful album. Sakuras Tark, if you get a chance to pick that up, really great album. Next up is another fantastic album from an amazing singer. Unfortunately, again, this singer is no longer with us. This is Jeff Buckley, and this is the album Grace. This is his only sort of official released album. He unfortunately, he died in an accident. He was swimming in the Mississippi River, and he got the currents of the tide took him, and unfortunately we lost Jeff. I saw Jeff in concert twice. The very first time was at Stevenage, Bowes-Lyon House. Could you believe it? He played there. And then I saw him when he released this album, Grace, and it was in like, he was in the sellout tour of like big sort of like theatres and stuff. But that's Jeff Buckley's Grace. Amazing album. It's beautiful, amazing. I miss Jeff, really do miss his music. He would have been you know, up here if unfortunately that didn't happen. Next up is an Irish band called the Divine Comedy. This is called Casanova. Again, this was their third album, and it was sort of like their breakthrough album. They did a couple of albums before it, which I really like. I don't think they've done an album I've not liked, to be honest. I've just picked this one out because it's the one I could put my hands on. and I've got loads of their albums. I've got every one they've made, and I just love Divine Comedy. Neil Hannon is another great songwriter. It's got some great songs on it. It's actually one, Becoming More Like Alfie and The Frog Princess. Some great songs on there. Really worth checking the Divine Comedy out. It's some clever songwriting. Really good album. Really good band. Next up is, we're off to Australia next with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and No More Shall We Part. This is an album that came out after he released that amazing album that I had in my top 10, which is, you know, I just thought, you're not going to top that album. That is your killer album. And then he released this little gem, which was fantastic. And again, it's loads of great love songs on it, great stories. There's some string arrangements on there, a bit like his Murder Ballads that he released. That's got some string arrangements. This has got some string arrangements on it, and it's just beautiful. It's just a great album. One of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds' favourite, and a lot of people don't really talk much about it, and I just think it's underrated. It's such a good album. You know, I play it quite frequently. Really, really good album. Big tracks off this one: Love Letter, Hallelujah, God Is in the House. It's a great album. We're off to the 1980s again now with a shoegazer band, and that's the House of Love. This was their second album, and again it was probably their breakthrough album. Contained their single Christine. It's a really cool album. It just flows really well. Mark Chadwick's vocals is fantastic on it. It's got a real sort of Echo and the Bunnymen sound to the album, which I love because I love Echo and the Bunnymen, as you know. So it's great to hear something that's quite similar to it when this came out, and it was a bit of a standout from a lot of the other sort of shoegazing bands that were about at the time. Now this artist you may not have heard of. He's an American artist that I absolutely adore, and this is Michael P. Hinson, and this is his album with And the Gospel Progress. It's such a great album, guys. He's actually signed it there for me. That's his signature, if you believe it. That is his signature. I've got a big signed poster from him on the wall as well. I went to see him play in Nottingham, and I sent him an email, said, is there any chance I could bring a CD, because I've got all your albums, can I bring one for you to sign? He said, bring all of them. I signed a lot. So I took 12. He's got about 15 albums out. I took 12 albums with me, and he signed them all. And he sat and spoke to me at the bar for about an hour before he went on stage. We just chatted about music, and then he went away. He bought me a drink, which was cool. He went away backstage, and he came out with a poster, and he wrote on it. He drew all around the poster, and he wrote on it, and he also signed it. And I just thought, wow. And then he went on and did his set. Great, really cool. This is a fantastic album. Real highlight. He's done some amazing albums. His music is it's quite dark, but it's really beautiful. And his vocals change from album to album. He's got little bits of sort of country feel to him, bit Johnny Cash, I suppose, in his sort of vocal style. But his music, it's really sort of like indie sort of music, but it's really dark and deep. Again, sometimes with string melodies in there. Really cool. A classic one now, a live album. This was recorded in 1971, and it's Neil Young at, I think it's the Royce Theatre or something, this one. Royce Hall. Yeah, this is a live album. He's released about 6 albums from this period of live, and it's all him, just acoustic. Every single one of them is brilliant, but I picked this one because I like the set list on it the best. But he's released about 6 different live albums from the same tour, and they're all fantastic. They're all amazing recordings, and they're all like historically important. This is a really good live album, and the sound quality in it, it's like he's playing in your front room. It's that good. Really, really cool album. And that is Neil Young live at Royce Hall. Really underrated album. Getting near the end, guys, seriously. Here's another one. This is another American album. As you might notice, quite a few American artists in it, because I mostly listen to British bands. So then suddenly you get some American artists that are like, wow, that's amazing. And this is one of them. This is Mercury Rev, and this is about their 4th or 5th album, called All Is a Dream. Really great album, great songs on there. Night and Fog, Chains, The Dark Is Rising, which sounds a lot like Neil Young. Really cool album, really great bands, American sort of like indie pop, and it's really, really cool. And they play like a bow saw, which is really, really good. So I've got one more to show you, and this to me is the most underrated album ever, and I just love it. I really, really do. It's by C.W. Stone King, and it's called Jungle Blues. Now this is like a sort of it's a recent album, but it's got a 1920s bluesy voodoo jazz sound to it, and you're thinking, what is that bit? But when you hear it, you'll know exactly what I'm saying. It's like a really sort of 1920s jazz with like a sort of voodoo sort of drum beats going through it, and it's bluesy. And he's released about 3 or 4 albums. I've got 3 of them, and they're all quite similar. But it's fantastic. It's just great. It's just something different that's being made now that sounds like something that's over 100 years old, if you like. And it's amazing. It's just really, really cool. Jungle Blues by C.W. Stone King. Go and check that album out, guys. It's fantastic. You wouldn't have heard nothing like it. And it's brilliant. And they are some of my underrated albums. So as you can see, it's quite a vast list. But I don't want to make this video any longer. It's already gone over 20 odd minutes. But you're still thinking, oh God, when are you going to stop, mate? I'm going to keep on and on and on, and I can't help it. I just love my music, and I've got a lot of my music so underrated. There's artists like Demanda Galaz, a New York sort of gothic opera singer. You know, there's some Tom Waits albums. There's some old T-Rex albums and Jesus and Mary Chain albums that I love. Dinosaur Jr. All underrated bands that you guys should be checking out. But I won't bore you anymore. I will be doing some more music ones. I promise it won't be as long as this. I'll do some more top 10s and some more hidden gems. So until then, guys, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I hope I'll see you all soon.